To whoever may need this nugget of encouragement.
Welcome to episode 2 of For the Underdogs. I'm here today with somebody that's been super special for me in my growth over the past few years. I know I spoke about the importance of therapy in my last episode. Sometimes it feels like he's my therapist. He's not, but I get great perspective from him, a lot of wisdom from him, and I'm super grateful that he's been by my side to help me get through these past couple of years in my growth journey. So, Rick Moschel.
Thank you for having me, man.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
How
Truly
you doing?
grateful. I'm amazing.
Good.
It's good to be on, man. Good to be on.
I'm happy to have you. So before we dive into our relationship a little bit, I know it's been a couple of years that we've known each other, but I want to kind of highlight your story and bring light to the things that you've been through. I know in our conversations you've mentioned to me how you've hit rock bottom before, and that's motivated you to be the person you are today. Can you share what that looked like for you and the journey of getting to where you are right now?
Yeah, so make a long story short, pretty much 26 years in the bar business. I was always that guy that everybody kind of came for advice, but it was very, I'm from the south suburb of Chicago, so it was very rough. It was very edgy on how I spoke to people, but very direct. And I got to the point where, 26 years I numbed on alcohol, drugs, all the different things, had anger, had blame, reacted to everything, all the different feelings that many of us have in our lives. Mm-hmm. And it got to the point where I had numbed on many different substances, alcohol and different drugs. And it really was a declaration that day. I looked in the mirror. I was sheep white, and I just declared, like, I'm not available for anything less than healing ever, like right now. And it happened when I was, 42, 43 years old, which, many people choose different times in their life to have this experience. And for me, it was just, I could not live with myself the way that I was anymore. I had to figure it out. So at that point, I had, personally, I had dabbled in the medicine of psilocybin in my life, just as hanging out with your friends and stuff like that. And I had a customer recently that came into my bar, never did a drug in his life. And he kind of asked me, he was like, I know you've done some things. He's like, I've been doing this research on this microdosing thing, and, it's supposed to help you with your brain later on in life. What do you think about that? And I said, well, let me do some research on that. And so I did a deep dive, understood, what it does and how it really does help you in your life. And so from that information, at that point of when I declared I want to change, I started to go to Sedona by myself every single week on a hike. I took a little bit of medicine, and I started to really ask myself, like, why? Why am I so angry? Why do I live in regret? Why do I live in blame and all the different things? Why did I not achieve the different things in my life? And why am I in a position now to where, how these things can actually help me in the latter parts of my life? And over time, the right questions started coming up. I got to the point where I understood my upbringing. I understood generational trauma. I understood what I took on from my dad, from my mom, from my grandparents. And then I understood how all the different things affected me, and how I just absorbed all this negative knowledge. Instead of knowing that everything is happening for us, I thought everything was happening to us for so long. So I was able to finally step outside of myself, really look down and ask myself, if this is teaching me something, if this is happening for me, why was that all happening for me? And over time, it really brought me to a place of finally looking in the mirror, having self-love, bringing to a place where, I had been in bad relationships. I never knew that was a mirror to what's really going on inside. So, after going internally, I was like, I don't need any relationships right now. I have a great job. At the time, I was training with some MMA fighters, some Brazilian MMA fighters, some of the top in the world. Yeah. So I was getting back into fitness again in that way. And I was feeling so good about myself where I was unstoppable.
That's awesome. I want to go back to when you said you were going on hikes and kind of spending that time with yourself. I think a lot of people are kind of nervous to get to that point of really diving deep into themselves because they don't know what they're going to uncover. What was that moment like for you, or those moments like for you when you were really being 100% truthful with yourself and facing the things that you may have feared earlier on in your life?
I'll tell you, it was extremely humbling. Because like I said, I'm from the south suburbs of Chicago. Where I come from, you talk shit, you're sarcastic, you don't talk about your feelings, and supposedly it's not manly to talk about your feelings. And what I realize is the strongest men in the world are the ones that can actually release tears, that can actually go internal, talk about what they have really going on and move that energy. And so really, going out, number one, nature in itself heals.
For sure.
The shirt I have on right now is called fucking nature, bro.
I love it.
It's part of my clothing line, but it's because being in nature, being around every tree out there, it literally has a soul. There's so much energy in nature that it actually does heal you. So the longer I would go on these walks, the longer I would be in the beauty of nature, it really helped me look into a mirror and see the true beauty within as I walked through. And as I got deeper into the questions of being truly honest with myself, I finally was able to cry. I finally was able to move that energy to actually be truthful with myself. And that's, the biggest part is, can you look in the mirror? Can you be brutally honest with yourself and know that once you get done with that, you're still alive, you're still breathing.
Yeah.
And it's going to move that energy, which brings in this beautiful positive vibration.
That's powerful. I want to talk about the vibration a little bit before we dive into when we met. Speak about the vibrations that, people give off and certain things give off. I think we've had a conversation of feeling certain people's energies and how certain people don't align with where you're trying to go on your journey. Can you speak about how you feel that energy? Because I've definitely feel like I've come to being able to feel people's energy. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So, these days, everything is vibration. My whole life, everything's about vibration. What I've realized, not only through research, but also in general, we are the most intricate magnets on planet Earth. If you really look at the people that are around you, the people that are in your life, they are magnetically in the same vibration as you are. Mm-hmm. Now, if you look at the people in your life and they're low vibration, they're on drugs, they're on alcohol, they're doing bad things, I guarantee you're in a very similar vibration. And it's funny because, actually it's almost like a personal Mythbusters or like a science project happened when I was in the bar business. In my latter parts, before I retired from it, for 23 and a half years, drugs, alcohol, I did all these things, talking shit, sarcastic, all these things. My customers were people that I'm jumping over the bar and choking out. Not all of them, obviously, but yeah. I'm breaking up fights. Pulling people off the bar from doing drugs. They're yelling at me. They're very low vibration. So the last 2.5 years of my journey in the bar business, I was into my self-help. I was into my healing. And the more and more I fell in love with myself, the more and more I understood myself and brought my vibration up. All of a sudden, it was so funny because I'd start talking to customers, and I'm talking to this woman, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I heard you were, talking about how you go in Sedona and you're on a little bit of medicine." She's like, "I worked with the Dalai Lama for 5 years," and I was like, "What?" Or I'd say, if I started, when I started to learn about crystals and stuff like that, I'd be talking about crystals with a client, and all of a sudden I have a couple that's sitting in front of me, and the boyfriend is like, I'm like, "Hey, you guys look like you got good vibes." He's like, pulls out a bag of crystals. I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "What the hell's going on right now?" And it really showed when I really stepped back, once again, stepping outside of my body, looking down from the outside in. Wow. Like, that's the vibrational match. That's what vibration is. So we all live on a certain vibration. You could either be a high vibration, low vibration, but you will connect to people that are like your vibration. So if people are in bad relationships, bad friendships, "Oh my God, my girl's crazy," or my guy, man, he's terrible. He's bringing me down. Well, that's the vibration. So if they're on that, if you're looking at them in a bad way, you must be in that vibration some way, somehow, or they're fulfilling something for you that has to do with that vibration. So it really is connecting, looking at your friends. They'll show you what vibration you're on. And then it comes to mindfulness in the morning, which we'll get into later, morning routine and all that stuff. But it's really, really connecting with yourself, being absolutely aware, being present in how you live every minute. instead of just going through a day and literally looking back and saying, what just happened today? I can't believe that happened. But if you're absolutely aware, you're absolutely present in your life, then you're aware of your vibration as it goes along. So if you're in a low vibration, you can take the time to sit back, take a deep breath. I always say lean into it a little bit and kind of question, well, what is this I'm feeling? What is this vibration? This brought me down. I know I don't want to be in a low vibration. So this thought obviously does not serve me.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I think I would like to know your opinion on, there may be people that watch this and they have an eye-opening moment at the time that you're speaking about vibrations of people, low vibration versus high vibration. What advice would you give somebody that is having a hard time moving away from people that have low vibration? Like this person, they've been close to these people for however many years and they feel some sort of attachment to them, but they know that this person's not good for them. What advice would you give them? Because I think a lot of people are kind of in that situation of like, well, this is my boy, this is my friend, like whatever the case may be. What advice would you give?
I'd say first, internal honesty. How do you want to show up in your life and what do you want around you to move forward in your life? The question is, can you look in the mirror, ask yourself, how am I showing up? Who do I want? For me, like I said, a lot of my old friends back then, if and when I see them, we connect, I love them, but they're not in my life anymore because they're not a vibrational match anymore. And the thing is, you really have to ask yourself, am I ready? I have a lot of isms these days, and one of them is day one or one day. Do you want to look in the mirror and say, one day, I'm going to clean up my friends. I'm going to clean up the network.
Say that again. Hold on.
Or do you say
That's
day
fire.
one, like day one or one day?
Yeah.
Like day one is today. And the question is, are you ready to declare what you really want in your life? And then are you going to be truthful with yourself as you progress in that part of your life? And then the question is, how do I do that? Mm-hmm. And then it's raising the vibration. You'll see as time goes on, organically, they will move away. They won't contact you as much. There won't be as much to talk about.
Absolutely.
A really quick example is I was on a mass text with 10 of my boys that I grew up with on the South Side, and literally it was there for only talking shit.
Yeah.
It was only talking shit, and I was one of the best at it. Yeah. So they always egg me on to, get into one of the guys and stuff like that. Well, at this point in my life, I don't hear from that text at all, zero. And it was funny because as it kind of started to remove from it, they try to egg me on, and what I would say is, it's all love, man.
That's it.
I'm like, because truly, in the essence of who we are in our soul, we're all love. We become products of our environment as time goes on.
Absolutely.
But in the essence, we're all love. So I would just always tell them I'm all love, and they'd be like, man, you're boring, man. Fuck this. You're boring. I don't want to talk to you anymore. In that sense. And I was like, that's cool, man. I'm just sending out love, man. I love you guys.
That's awesome. I think I want to get your perspective on when you separated from those people, because I feel like when you're around certain vibrations of people that don't serve where you're trying to go, the God in the universe has a weird way of not sending you where you need to be, or sending you the opportunities that you need or the opportunities that you deserve because of the, crowd that you're around. What changed for you when you kind of got away from that crowd and you moved obviously into the wellness side of things, and how did that affect you mentally and where you are today?
Well, it started with, like I said, I was finally at a place where I had self-love. And it was funny because I didn't want any relationships at that time. I was like, I don't need a woman right now. I'm good. And that was when my vibration was connected with my future wife that I have now. And my future wife, she just happened to be a life coach. She just happened to actually work in a company at the time that she taught women how to life coach. So it was funny because all that I'd always spoke about, when people came to me for advice, was more of like, hey, don't be an asshole. Like, get your head out of your ass. You obviously, you're not supposed to be with this girl. Like, come on, man. Kind of like that rough South Side style. And as, I was around her, she really brought me in a place of like understanding vocabulary, understanding really, the path behind all of this mentally as to how we took this on, how the file cabinet within you from your past brought on all this stuff about vibration.
Man.
And then as you went along, as you came more in tune with that file cabinet, understood it, you started to move some of that out. One of the statements, that I absolutely love, it's not mine, but it's something that I preach constantly, is I bless and release what does not bring me peace. When it comes to anything in life, you can sit with it. Old school friends, I'm sending you love, but I bless and release what does not bring me peace. Being around the ruckus, being around the low vibration, it doesn't make me happy. So what I do is I bless and release what does not bring me peace. And when it comes to my life, now, once again, like the Mythbusters, the Science Project, now all the people in my life, everybody's going like this. Put it this way, I'm sitting across from you, we're on a podcast right now.
Yeah.
Everything's going up. I'm in a new company that we're creating to help children understand their minds, do breath work, and be trained at a young age, to be better as humans. I life coach now. I facilitate breath work now. All the different things. The clothing line I own represents nature and plant medicines. Everything I have to do with is about high vibration and going this way. And everybody I talk to now, everybody who's in my life
is on that same path.
100%.
Yeah.
Everybody is having conversations about the mind, about the spirit, about the soul, about how you're showing up. And it's not an accident that's happening. It really is. It's a vibrational match.
100%. That's man, that's dope. I love to hear that. I want to touch on our relationship a little bit and how we met, obviously through a mutual friend that I was training with at the time that I was kind of at the end of my NFL career, so around 2021. And I was just kind of dipping into the wellness and mental health things, and we obviously connected. Within our first conversation, I felt like maybe it was an hour and a half of us just talking about things and where I was at the time. I want to get your perspective on it, though. Like, what did you see from your point of view with where I was at that time in my life?
Well, first thing I'll say, number one, always got to give a shout out to Austin Schoen, because Austin Schoen is absolutely just a magical human. Anybody with hat, long hair, and sandals on while he works.
Yeah, shout out to Austin.
Love him to death. He helped change my life. But truly, I think everybody has different superpowers. One of my superpowers is to feel the soul of somebody. I can feel the vibration. I can feel what's inside of somebody within 2 seconds of sitting next to him. And that day when I met you, I sat next to you and I knew, number one, absolutely amazing. Like mind, body, soul, absolutely amazing. You can hear in your voice.
Yeah.
Everything's in a voice and a handshake. You're so nice. You have these big hands. When you shake a hand, you don't want to crush a hand. That means you're a gentle giant. And in your voice, once again, gentle giant. And I remember talking about, kind of challenging you to, you were asking me about thinking about getting out of the NFL. Don't know if I want to still be in it. I got a couple of different opportunities, and pretty much just how I coach was I really put it back on you. I never tell anybody what to do. What I do is I ask questions. And I remember kind of asking you like, well, you have information right now. Everything in our life is information. The question is, what do you do with that information? And at that time, you had a lot of information on the plate.
Yeah.
But also, am I defined by sport? Am I defined by my job? Am I more than what is on the table right now? And I feel like even in that first conversation, you knew right away that you are more than just sport.
Yeah.
There is more for you. You're intelligent. You have a vibration. You have a great support system. You have all the different things that you can create things after that job. And that's what people don't understand is sometimes when it comes to top athletes, your career is 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years, whatever it is. But in the grand scheme of our life, that's a blink.
Yeah.
That's a blink of our life. Now you got another 60 years to go.
Absolutely.
You got another 50 years to go. Question is, were you defined by that? You were not defined by that. So I remember us kind of rapping about that. And then me kind of challenge you also as to when you're thinking about these different things, what have you taken on from your family? I feel like we went into that generational trauma a little bit as to, all right, mom and dad. I always kind of test people. Were you the firstborn, secondborn, thirdborn? Firstborn, usually more like the dad. Secondborn, usually more like the mom. So I think we started to go into generationally what you might have taken on to why you feel the way that you, or why you feel the way you do, why you react the way that you do, and why you kind of were swaying into either way.
Yeah.
And I feel like you were actually already very, very realistic right off the bat
I was, yeah,
with the direction that you thought you wanted to go.
for sure.
But you definitely want to feel it out for the rest of that season.
Yeah.
And I remember contacting you even when you were on the road and stuff like that. We'd have a conversation every now and then just to rap for about 30, 40 minutes. And it's funny because every time, even if we happen to say hi to each other, that ends up being about an hour and a half.
Oh man, every
Seriously.
time, yeah. I think the pull that last year had on me was me in the back of my mind thinking, is this as good as I'm going to be able to get as far as the height of my career, who I am as a person, and the impact that I was going to have on people. And I think when I spoke to you, right off the bat, I was like, this is not as good as it's going to get. Like, I know I have more in me. It was just about channeling that the right way. And that conversation kind of sparked me when you told me about your routine and things like that. It sparked me to kind of dive into the breath work side of things, meditation, journaling. I journal now, like consistently.
Love
I want to talk about the breath work thing because that's been something that's been huge in my routine. Every morning I'm starting out with breath work. I'm on the Wim Hof method right now. I know we talked about that a little bit, but it has been helpful for me. And I love it because after I'm done doing it, I feel like I'm operating on a different frequency. That could just be me, feeling the effects of the breath. But I want to talk about the advantages of doing breath work and how that's helped you in your life, because I know it's helped me a tremendous amount.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely changed my life. I preach it like in a weird way to people. I mean, over the top. It's there's a saying that they say is the way that you breathe is the way that you do life. So if you're one of those people that doesn't tune into your breath, you don't even know how you're breathing throughout the day, I guarantee you're not aware and you're not present in your day-to-day life. And it's funny, this is the one time when I wanted my phone next to me, because I really actually wanted to read off exactly what it does do, because the list is, and it's even longer than this, but very quickly, it increases lung capacity, it increases vagal tone, so you have less anxiety, less stress, you're more calm more often. It increases heart rate variability, the better measure of nervous system health, widens the window of tolerance, the capacity to experience stress, navigate stress. It boosts immune function and promotes healthy digestion, increases focus, increases overall well-being, releases tension, emotions, helps integrate grief and loss, helps process release trauma, to connect to your body, tap into intuition, quiets the mind, promotes quality sleep, creativity, symptoms of asthma. And I mean, it can literally go on for days and days.
Yeah.
And so, there was an old school saying, like I said, number one, your words are your wand. So, every time now, every word that I speak, I make sure I understand what I'm saying before I say it, which I know you've been around me.
Man.
And anytime.
Yeah, quick story on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I remember a couple of weeks ago, you had pulled up and we were talking a little bit. You're like, man, you look good. You look like you've been working out. I'm like, yeah, I'm trying. And you're like, no. Like, you are doing it. Like, and that's been something that I've definitely incorporated in my mind of, like, not saying I'm trying to do something, like I am going to do something. If I have my mind set on it, I'm going to do it. Yeah. And I think that's powerful because, like you said, your words are your wand. The things that we speak definitely hold weight just in how we move in general. Sorry to interrupt, but
no, I love that. I love that because truly, if you're trying, that's all you're doing. You're trying. Mm-hmm. If I want to, that's all you're going to do is want to. If, I hope this happens. Well, that's all that's going to happen is I hope. Mm-hmm. It's I am, I will, I'm doing. And it's, pulling that question out of your mind. And, I had used to say back in the day, I'd be like, I don't believe shit till shit happens. That was my saying. Rick always says, I don't believe shit till shit happens. Yeah. And that was one of those things where I don't believe it unless it happens. Well, I'm actually not allowing it to happen because I'm saying that. But when it came to breath work, that was one of those things, truth be told, the first time I had seen it face to face was a couple years ago. My wife actually studied it and taught it also. And so we had some people at the house to breathe that day. And we had 6 people, and they're on they're on their mats, and they're crying, they have emotions, their arms are flailing, they're doing all this stuff. And I'm looking at my wife after, I'm like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
I'm like, that was crazy.
Yeah.
And she's like, babe, you're going to be teaching this. You got to start doing it. You got to know what it is. So I was like, okay, tomorrow morning, let's start the day with it. That morning, I lay down, and that's the thing. There's all different types of breath work. The Wim Hof, which is quick, shh, 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 and you're really challenging your diaphragm, your lungs. And then there's slower. We teach a couple of different ones. But what I realized was when you do 30 to 35 to 40 minutes of breath work, extended breath work, and you could even get this feeling in quick 10 to 15, 20 minutes, but 35 to 40 minutes,
For sure.
you have tingling in your extremities.
Yeah.
You have a carbon dioxide that goes up and down that, is released inside of your body. The more that you can diaphragm breathe, your diaphragm is actually twice the size of your lungs. So many people, they go through sport, they go through life, and everything is...
Don't breathe the right way. Yeah.
They're not breathing correctly.
Yeah.
If you can breathe through your diaphragm's twice the size. So if you can truly expand your diaphragm over time. And so that first morning I did it, and I sat up. I thought I was levitating.
Yeah.
I felt my feet, my hands, my lips. I felt like I got injections in my lips. I felt like the people the day before. I was crying.
Yeah.
I didn't know what was going on, but that's the thing. Energy moves with sound, breath, and movement. So that was the thing. Breath. So the more you breathe, the more you move in energy.
The energy flowing.
So, I mean, I literally got addicted to it, engulfed in it, to the point where I would, it was kind of funny because, sometimes I would go to the gym where I trained at Fight Ready, and you'd have these top tier fighters that are like, hey, what's happening, Rick? How you doing, man? I'm like, hey, how are you? They're like, whoa,
Chill
like,
out.
bro, like take it down a notch. I'm like, sorry, man, I just did breath work.
Yeah.
I'm like through the roof right now,
Oh,
man.
man.
It's one of those things where now, I began to facilitate breath work with a lot of wrestlers, a lot of fighters, actually a lot of different sports, some NFL, some NHL.
I want to talk about that. I definitely want to talk about that. I feel like just going back on the breathwork thing, like you said, moving energy, I think the most satisfying part for me is after I complete the Wim Hof, and I've done your breathing, facilitating as well at the gym, and those are super powerful. What are they, about an hour and a half?
Hour and a half for the full experience because we do a sound bath after.
Right.
So we bring in vibration instruments.
Yeah, so I've done that, and those are powerful. I think the most satisfying part for me is the clarity that I have in my mind afterwards. Being able to, like, when you open your eyes after that breath work, having that feeling of hearing birds chirping, dogs barking, and that's all you're hearing. It's not the chatter that you get, that you deal with, from everyday life. I think that's the most satisfying part for me. You said that you work with a bunch of different athletes, obviously wrestlers, MMA fighters, NFL, hockey. I want to ask you, what is the difference? And obviously the sports are different, and guys are typically trying to accomplish, the benefits of the breath work. But what is the difference that you notice from a mental standpoint working with all these different athletes? Because as you know, me, NFL, you worked with me. MMA is a whole different game. Those guys are wired so different. Hockey, wired different. Yeah. Have you noticed any difference in between all the guys, or is it typically around the same? What would you have to say about that?
100% difference, number one, just to start. I feel like every single one of them, after the first day they did it, the first breath work, they sat up with the face that, and I don't forget your face, it made a move, you're in the corner, and you sat up and you were just like sitting there looking around like,
yeah,
like this is the first I'm looking through these eyes.
Yeah.
And that's, I'm pretty much any athlete I've worked with, that's what happens. It's like, what just happened? I've had multiple guys that just started pouring out tears that were like, what just happened? Some of the guys get the tetany where they go T-Rex hands, where, when your carbon dioxide is low in your body, it actually does this little cramping thing in your hands, which is nothing bad for you. It's just something that happens. But they were like, dude, my hands, but I just kept breathing because I didn't want to stop because they have that athlete in them. They're like, no, I'm gonna work through it. I don't care what's going on. I'm gonna do it. And truly, a lot of them do it for the lungs, to give them,
The lung
so
capacity,
the lung
so they don't
capacity,
get-
so that they don't get tired.
Right.
But it's all the other things that hit them the most. Most of it is, wow, I didn't know how much things were weighing on me.
Yeah.
And then actually released all that energy. That made me feel so much better. A lot of athletes, is just like yourself, their minds can't stop.
Mm-hmm.
You get real heady. You get really into your own head. So all the different things, it's just like this chatter constantly.
Yeah.
You have problems sleeping and stuff like that. With them, they sat up and all of a sudden they're like, wow, that was like the first time my mind actually finally chilled out. Like I was able to just tune into my breath. And that's the thing. If you can do breath work correctly, which sometimes not right away, you're not the best at it, but
Right.
just like any other thing, it's called breath work for a reason. It's work.
It's work, and
So
it's
you have
exhausting.
to practice. And that's the thing. The mind is a muscle.
Yeah.
All you're doing is retraining the muscle.
Mm-hmm.
So the more and more you could tune into your breath, the more and more you get better at it, the more and more the chatter starts to slow down. It was actually just recently where I took a bunch of guys through it, a bunch of athletes, and they were outside. And there was quite literally, there was construction across the street. There was cars everywhere. All you heard was all types of outside chatter. And all of them, as I took them through, when they sat up, I always tell everybody, slowly move your hands, slowly move your feet, only open your eyes when you're ready. Kind of sit up only when you're ready. So they all started to sit up and they were kind of looking around and they were like, I let everybody share. I give almost like a little integration. I think integration is so important when it comes to anything that you do. And so they started to talk and most of their shares started out with, I didn't hear construction.
Mm.
I didn't even hear these cars going.
Yeah.
All I heard was my breath, your voice, and the music.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing. If you can really tune into your breath, once again, how I breathe is how I live life. So if you can truly tune into your breath, slow everything down, be more present in your breath, well then it's going to change everything in your life as time goes on. And now I'm the biggest advocate for breathing.
Man, me too.
And it's my favorite thing to do. I literally, I get paid to do it, take people through it, and I do it for free where I just, I'll show up at the gym and just take a bunch of athletes through it just because I love it. It's, for me, I'm a Jewish guy, it's a mitzvah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For me, I just love, in every way, shape, or form, everything I do is to help humans.
Yeah.
All the different things that I work with now have helped me get to a point where I'm in a vibration that what I like to say is just unstoppable. My mind is impenetrable and unstoppable.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what's coming in. It's just all information. I decipher it. If it serves me, I absorb it. It doesn't serve me, I stop. I take a deep breath. I look at it. I understand it. This doesn't serve me. I remove that. And then because of my morning routine, with gratitude, I go into what I'm grateful for. And then it's like, what was that? I don't even remember what that was. It just kind of drifts away.
I think it's important to be able to decipher things that serve you. I think a lot of people that are kind of just going through life and aren't present have a hard time actually taking that step of deciphering what does not serve me for me to reach my highest purpose. What advice would you give someone that is having a hard time of actually going through the process of weeding out things that don't serve them? How would you tell them to get started with that?
Well, very first, a couple of things. Number one, everything is happening for us. Nothing is happening to us. And that is a fact. It's literally a fact. If you step outside your body and look at everything that has supposedly happened to you in your life, the second part is everything is teachers. So if everything is teachers and everything's happening for me, can I go back either in the past or sit with the present and actually sit with that? And what was I supposed to learn from this? What was this actually showing me about myself? What was this person showing me about myself? What was getting hurt showing me about myself? I mean, one thing when it comes to, athletes, many people don't know that injuries are manifested mentally. Mostly
Definitely.
Every injury is manifested mentally. I mean, it was, we talked back in the day, there's the magical book that
are you talking about the upper limit problem?
that I tell everybody about, but it's called You Can Heal Your Life, and it's by Louise Hay.
Okay.
But it literally shows in the back quarter of the book, it shows almost every illness and injury of how it's manifested mentally. So we are literally manifesting through our mentals what's coming into our life.
For sure.
So if you can look back at anything in your life, that's what I would do first, is take the time, maybe go for a walk, and start to think about all the so-called negative moments in your life and change your perspective. We can't control anything in our life. What we can control is how we react to things.
Mm-hmm.
So this happened. I reacted this way. Now, wait a second. If I rewind that, I step outside of my body, I look down, and I look from a different perspective, different eyes, and I say, okay, if this was happening for me, if this was teaching me something, and I'm being honest with myself, what was it teaching me? And I guarantee every single moment that has happened in anybody's life has taught you something. Now I have kids, and now I have an opportunity to show up for these kids and change that. I know from whatever happened back then, I don't want that to happen. I don't want that to happen to these kids. I want these kids to grow up differently. Well, guess what? That happened for you. Because maybe that happened for you so that you could show up differently for your kids. And that's the thing. Everything, once again, like I said, my childhood was not perfect. So I look back at all that and everything's teachers. Some people learn from a magical childhood and everything's, roses and sunshine. Yeah. And I love that. I love that for them. I never judge anybody's past. I just look at it and I absorb the information. So the information in my past was, okay, Dad wasn't around because he was so busy with work and all these things. Well, let's understand that. Let's go deeper into that. I finally understood that, why he did that. Mom, this is how she was. Okay, I understood that. Now, why did it affect me? Why was all that happening for me? Okay, wait a second. Now that I take the time to look back at that, wow. It actually was teaching me how to show up for myself right now. And my beautiful wife and her children, now my stepchildren, now I know how to sit down and have a conversation with them and show up and be there and be supportive instead of reactive, instead of all the things that I grew up around. Yeah. So it doesn't matter if it's positive or negative. It really is teaching you something. So I'd say the number one thing is everything's happening for you, not to you, and everything is teachers. So can you just slow down your life, take the time to maybe go for a walk, maybe sit on the couch and just think. Step outside and look down from an outside perspective. Change your perspective on it and absorb it in a different way. And I guarantee as you start to do that, your vibration will change as the understanding of what brought you here, why you're here. And now you have a choice. What do I do with the present moment? Because literally the past, present, and future are all one thing. Because if you can actually go back to the past, rewrite the past. They call it inner child work, where you go back.
Inner child work.
As a child, you close your eyes. And that's the thing. I mean, like I said, I could go for days, but
no, the inner child
work is magical. Because if you can go back with yourself in that moment as a kid, when it didn't go your way, or you got hit, or you got beat, or whatever it was, that affected you for the rest of your life. If you can go back, close your eyes, ask yourself, can I be here with you right now? Really use your imagination. What were you wearing?
Yeah, and talk
what did
to
it
that.
Look like? What were the people involved?
Talk to
yourself.
Yeah.
Give yourself the support you needed. In that moment, if you can give yourself the support you needed, then in the present, when that trigger surfaces, you can stop, breathe, and say, wait a second, this trigger is attached to when I was 6 years old. No. I give myself love. No, I got myself now. And so what you're doing is, if you can rewrite the past, it changes the present, which then in turn changes the future.
That's powerful. I want to talk about manifesting, because you mentioned that. I really want to ask you what your perspective is on the difference between manifesting, meditating, and praying, because I think obviously a lot of people are, while they're on their journey, they're shifting towards whether they're manifesting, meditating, or praying. But there's also this crowd of people that are like, well, if you're manifesting, when are you praying? If you're meditating, when are you praying? And I think it's a touchy subject, because I think it's a narrow way to look at things, as opposed to being open-minded and understanding. At least from my perspective, those things all go hand in hand when you start to do the work correctly. So I want to get your opinion on that and what you feel is the difference, if there is any difference. What do you think?
Definitely a difference. All different things. And it's funny because, my morning routine starts with these three things, including gratitude. So what people don't understand a lot of it is, so meditation is actually clearing the mind. Meditation is actually being a meditative state of mind to where there's actually nothing in there. It's actually just letting the mind be. Can you actually close your eyes and remove all thoughts from your mind and just settle the mind into perfect silence, perfect relaxation? And that's that's meditation. So even in my morning practice, it starts with gratitude. What am I truly grateful for? Then I go into meditation, into where I remove everything from my mind. I let it settle. And then I move into manifesting. So manifesting, what a lot of people don't understand about it, and what I love about going back and going into the childhood is, now that we have, phones, and you have computers, and you have all this stuff that's constant stimulation, it actually hurts manifesting, because what people don't understand is manifesting is your imagination. And when is our imagination the most powerful? It's when we were kids.
Mm-hmm.
When you were a kid and you didn't have a computer and you had to go out and you had to make believe fort. You had to play fort. You had to play tag.
Yeah.
You had to play kill the carrier. You had to do whatever it was. You had to use your imagination.
Right.
That's actually what manifesting is. The deeper you can move into your imagination, closing your eyes, going in your imagination, but being specific, because this is the part that sometimes can get people. So if you're manifesting and you're like, man, I want this job, I want to work in this business, yada, 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 but you're actually not manifesting the specific job you want, the specific whatever. You make it a job, it might be in that business. You're like, man, how the hell did I end up here? Like I manifested this, but it wasn't exactly what so be specific. So really sitting in, what people don't understand is, so the biomagnetic field of your heart is 5,000 times stronger than your mind. So if you can manifest from your heart, in your heart of hearts, use your imagination, close your eyes, and tune into, what does it specifically look like? What does it smell like? What does it feel like?
Yeah.
What does it feel like to already be there?
Yeah,
what does it feel like to be in the motion of already doing it? And what happens is, over time, it actually condenses time and it brings you there quicker.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think a lot of people, may have a piece of the process wrong when they don't take action towards what they're manifesting. I think that's a big piece. If you're manifesting that you want to be a top podcaster, are you getting up and putting action towards those things, or are you just hoping that it kind of just falls in your lap? I think that's the wrong way to look at things. You got to kind of meet halfway, and those things are going to come to you as you continue to manifest and continue to take proper action. You can't say you want something, but then veer off and go do something that's not, getting you to that goal that you have.
100%. And I mean, when it comes to that, okay, so take it, for example, me. So in the mornings, every day I have this morning routine. So what I'm doing is I'm starting with gratitude. What am I truly grateful for? Then I'm emptying everything out. And then I'm moving into manifesting. Well, if I'm starting every day like that, and then I'm doing breath work, what happens when I open my eyes after all that? I get excited to get it all done.
Absolutely.
So if you're actually just living your life, and you're like, man, I really want this, man, and you just go and you're just in limbo and you're doing whatever, you're not aware, you're not present, and you wonder, why isn't any of this shit happening for me? Why didn't it come to me? Well, are you doing the proper routine? Are you really taking the time to put yourself in a position for a win? Are you creating small wins to start your day, as small as making your bed?
Big.
Brushing your teeth. When you brush your teeth, you just brush your teeth and you go on with your day? Are you actually brushing all your teeth? It's like how, one of our sayings, another ism, is how you do one thing is how you do everything. So that's the question. So if you're taking the time to manifest and you're really doing it from your heart, then when you wake up, your mind is already locked into, I want to make this happen.
Absolutely.
What does it take to make this happen? So you will literally, over time, retrain your brain, which I'm a perfect example of that, because my brain was trained the wrong way.
Likewise.
And then some for 42 years.
Likewise.
And I was stubborn as hell from family, from the generational, stubborn in my family. And what I did was I loosened that. I loosened it and I leaned into the positive. I leaned into, well, what am I doing every morning? Why do I have this morning routine? It's because I do want to be better in my life.
Absolutely.
I do want to be present. So now, one of the things that my wife quite often says is she loves how present I am in every moment. If we're on a hike, I'm always looking around and looking at the nature. Wow, look at that tree. Wow, look at that over there. I'm present. When it comes to being around people, I mean, this has actually just been me always, but I'm so present. I read everybody to the point where sometimes I need to, like, I'm an extrovert,
Yeah.
but sometimes I need to introvert.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I'm just looking at people like, ooh, what's your story? Oh, damn, I'm reading your story.
Yeah.
What'd you say? And like I said, I hear everything in a voice.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody says something, I'm like, oh man, they got some trauma. Oh, you're not seeing, or this and that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, you come to this point where it's almost overstimulation.
Yeah.
So literally I'm perfect proof that if you really do take the time to be mindful, to be present, to be aware, and to really have a routine, it will change your life. It's not it can change your life, it will change your life. And
Absolutely.
it's like, I will.
Yes.
I will. There's not, I'm going to try. It's not, I hope so.
Yeah.
It's just, I will.
Yeah, that gratitude piece is big. I think that's something that has changed the way I look at things is when I journal, writing down what I'm grateful for and really spending time to feel the emotions of those things that I'm writing down, because it's one thing to write it down and just close the journal and move on, but to actually be able to spend time with how does this thing that I'm writing down make me feel. Mm-hmm. That is how you connect with the gratitude, in my opinion. I want to ask you, before we end, what would you say to someone who is on the fence of starting the journey to their highest self or starting the mental health journey, who they may be scared to, like we talked about earlier, uncover certain things that have affected them, but they know they want to be better for themselves or their family, wife, kids, husband, whatever the case may be? What would you say to them to get them on the other side of the fence?
I would actually start with my favorite, the 2-minute test. Can you set your watch to 2 minutes? Press start. Now look in the mirror. Look in the mirror for 2 minutes. Look at yourself. Look at your soul. Are you truly in love with yourself? And if you're not, what am I truly available for? Do I want more than this in my life? And the question is, once again, one day or day one? Do you want day one to be today? Go out, talk to somebody, find somebody, make sure they're on your vibration, because not just, there's so many different, there's life coaches, there's psychiatrists, there's all these different people. The question is, make sure they're of your vibration, make sure that they're the type of help that you need. And then truly just be honest with yourself. And if you're honest with yourself and you really are at that point of you're crying for help, are you ready to declare what you truly want in your life? And if you're ready to declare what you truly want in your life, you may end up sitting on this couch, sitting across from Jamil, having a great conversation later on after that path. Absolutely. And that's the thing. You never know a couple things. You never know what that journey is going to look like. I take the time quite often to step outside of my body, look down, and see how this path happened. And then the ripple effect as to when you do that work. Because, back in the day, when I served drinks and I made people laugh, I thought I was giving them the time of their life, but I was feeding them low vibration and trying to pick up that vibration. Now, because I did my work, the different people I've coached, the different people I've worked with, I can look now at the ripple effect that I've had because I did my work onto this person that talked to their friend, about what happened. And that's the thing. The ripple effect of me sitting and working with Austin Schoen on my body and talking to him about what I do gave me an introduction to you. The ripple effect of the work that I did in my life put you in a position to do the work on your life. And since then, I guarantee you've helped many friends through what they're going through.
Absolutely.
And now you're actually doing a podcast that has to do with wellness, that happens to do with mindfulness, that happens to do with all these things. So it's like you never know who you're going to ripple onto. So when it comes to looking in the mirror and asking yourself if you're ready, ask yourself, like, truly, who am I going to ripple onto? When I really go to a place to where I love myself, I understand my story, I give forgiveness, I release, I bless and release what does not give me peace. When I release that past, what's going to happen now? How many people are going to feel that vibration, know the old me, and say, man, like, what happened, man? Talk to me about it. Like, what happened? And then all of a sudden that begins that beautiful ripple effect. And that's what it's all about. In the grand scheme of it, one of my wife's favorite statements is the healing of one, which is us, is the healing of all, and the healing of all is our collective duty. And that's the thing. The more you heal yourself, you will ripple onto the people around you, which ripples on, which ripples on, which ripples on. And that's the beauty of all of it.
Man,
that's truly the beauty.
That's super dope. I'm super thankful for you being here, man. Like I said, you've been influential for me in my journey the past few years. Obviously, I know, we got a lot longer friendship to build upon. And like I said, I'm super thankful for you being here on the podcast. True underdog, in my opinion, because of where you are now. And yeah, man, thank you. Thank you for being here.
I appreciate you so much, man. Thank you for having me. And obviously, if anybody hears this and they feel my vibration is what they need, I have a website called moshelcoaching.com.
Please, yes.
Moschel, coaching.com. And it has everything that I offer. And any way that I can help, my clothing line is Plant Revolution Apparel.com and the Instagram tag. And I mean, truly, I'm on this planet. I know for a fact my life's work is just to help heal as many humans as possible and live in a vibration that ripples onto as many people as possible. And I make sure that every single minute of every single day is the best minute of that day, is the best minute of my life. And I don't settle for anything less. And that's the biggest part. Don't settle for anything less than living your best life. Why?
I love that.
Thank you, man.
Appreciate you guys for being here. I hope you guys enjoy this episode For the Underdogs.